Jefferson Elementary School District regular governing board meeting of July 28, 2001. We are convening at 7:02 p.m. Ms. Kovarai, could I please get members present?
Jason Koo,
Here.
Marie Brizuela,
Here.
Andrea Jordan,
Here.
Manufo Leah Inga Anuai,
Here.
Maybell Monio.
Here. Thank you so much, Maria. And Assistant Superintendent Brent Valenti, do you mind leading us in a Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Not at all. Let me get my systems ready here. All right. Please rise if you're able to. Get the flag coming. Put your hand on your heart. Begin. I pledge allegiance
To the flag.
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Valenti. At this time, the governance team members will review the governance team meeting guidelines. We're going to move on to the approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Ms. Brizuela, you were on mute. Was that an aye?
Okay. Aye.
Thank you. That is unanimous. And now we can move on to board member acknowledgements and commendations. Miss Andrea, you look so sun-kissed. Do you want to say anything this evening?
Oh my goodness. I actually will pass this evening. I just got back and I am just trying to get back into the swing of things. But thank you. I'm happy to be here tonight.
Thank you. Anyone else want to go? I'm seeing no. So looks like we'll all pass on that. I just hope everybody is having a great summer so far. Superintendent Vidales, do you have any comments for us?
Yes, so I'd just like to report to the board that last Friday we finished a successful session of summer learning for students in rising kindergarten through rising 8th grade. And we just had 3 schools that were buzzing with activity, 4 schools buzzing with activity for the whole time. And very proud that we were able to practice our safety practices that you'll hear more about later, and everybody stayed safe. There were a couple of glitches, but we were able to respond appropriately throughout the summer. So happy for that, and happy for the learning as well as the safety. So I was just reflecting today just how much difference a year can make. Last year at this time, we had 0 guidance from state level on how to open and how to operate safely. This year we have so much knowledge and so much support from the state about opening safely. Mr. Valenti will be presenting some of that later in our meeting. And it just feels, as you heard it last year, where I just felt lost. I felt like I was inventing and guessing and second guessing. This year, I don't feel that way. I feel like we're being guided and directed by people whose job it is to study research and to draw conclusions from it, versus me reading blogs and New York Times articles and Washington Post or whatever I could get my hands on. So it is comforting to know that people whose job it is to do this are making these recommendations, and that we can follow them in confidence. So I just wanted to also say, we're in the midst again, like we were last year, in the midst of a potential surge here with expanding coronavirus cases. This time it's due to the Delta variant, which is able to infect individuals who are vaccinated. However, what is being seen is that the vaccine does protect against severe disease and does protect against hospitalization, and most importantly, protects against death. And sometimes individuals in our community and the public might forget that the whole reason for the lockdowns of last spring was to prevent the overpopulation, to prevent the crowded ICUs and the crowded hospitals. And the vaccine is able to do that. People might be getting sick, but they're treated at home. They don't escalate necessarily to the level that they were before. And I think we need to just keep that in context, that the vaccine is not a zero COVID vaccine, like you're not getting infected. It is a zero hospitalization vaccine, hopefully, and certainly zero death, where we're trying to, we're minimizing the amount of individuals that end up in our hospitals, so that if there was an earthquake, there'd be room for those of us who get hurt to end up in the hospital, or, more practically, if we do get in a car accident, that there's a space for us. There's a hospital bed for us. So I'm very grateful for the vaccine. We continue to encourage staff members, community, our students who are eligible to get their vaccine, because it is a lifesaver, literally. And we do want to make sure that everyone who is eligible has access to it, and it's very available. And we look forward to when our students younger than the age of 12 are eligible for it. Maybe not until the end of the year, but the next best thing to getting the kids vaccinated is getting all the adults in their life vaccinated as well, because it does transmit more heavily from adult to child. So we're really trying to create a safe barrier around our students by encouraging any adults or any eligible individual around our children to become vaccinated to protect them. So thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Vidales, and I completely agree with you. And this district, like many others, we are battle tested. So I think come what may, we will be prepared to answer those new responses that we have to do, if in case we do. Thank you for your comments. We'll move on to the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second the motion.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Perfect. Thank you. That was unanimous. Great. We'll move on to item 7C. Resolution number 210728 to excuse Manufa Liana Onawai from special board meeting July 12, 2021. Pursuant to Education Code 35129C, the board will consider a request for passage of a resolution to excuse Manufa Liana Onawai absence on July 12 due to illness.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 210728 to excuse board member Manufo Lia Iga Anuai from the special board meeting on July 12th, 2021.
I'll second the motion.
All right, there is a motion and a second. Good job, Andrea, by the way. I know how hard that was. I'm going to need a roll call for this one. Ms. Kovarai, please.
Mr. Koo,
Aye.
Mrs. Brizuela,
Aye.
Miss Jordan,
Aye.
Miss Leah Inga Anawai,
Aye.
Miss Manio.
Aye, motion has passed. Thank you so much.
Thank you, President Manio, if I may speak.
really briefly, I just wanted to thank everyone. I appreciate that we pulled this out of consent and that we're able to vote on it. I will say that my family and also my colleague have been impacted by the variant, and we are all vaccinated. So it's real. Catching this and being vaccinated, it was crazy. We were literally stuck 2 weeks. I was, my husband, but other members of my family were wiped out longer than that, and we're still not feeling totally well as far as our physical being. So I do want to just encourage everyone to remain masked up as long as you can, especially in shared spaces. Because I will tell you, the only place we thought we could have picked it up as we backtracked was the supermarket. And so that I share that because that is the only place that we know we had interaction with outside of our home as we did the mapping. And that's scary to know that might have been a place that we picked that up right in our community. So just want us to be vigilant, hyper vigilant, and continue to be safe out there. I've had pneumonia before. This was nothing like it. This was worse. So please be careful. But thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Leonawai, for sharing your story with us. And I hope and pray for you and your family to continue on your trajectory toward a healthier life. And, it's scary to think we're still in the thick of this, even after all this time. But yeah, it's all about staying vigilant, doing your best to stay safe. So we're glad that you're here with us now, Manufo. And we're happy that you're able to, join us this evening during this meeting. Thank you. We're going to move on to item 7P, update on ethnic studies middle school pilot in Jefferson Elementary School District. This is informational. It's for our community responsive education, and JESD staff will provide an update on progress JESD has made in development of ethnic studies units, as well as plans for a pilot of these units and lessons in 2021 to 2022. Miss, I believe, Allison Tintianco Cubales, thank you so much for joining us this evening. We appreciate your time.
It's my honor, everybody. Manofo, I just wanted to say I'm glad you're feeling better. It's heavy right now. So I'll just take a few minutes to share an update with a new slide deck that we made specifically for this district. We're really excited. So we are at the very tail end of developing 4 units. And so I'm really excited to share that with you. But before I do that, as we always do in ethnic studies, I want to acknowledge the land that we're on before I move forward. So important that I've asked all the teachers to develop their own land acknowledgement. Part of the process of developing curriculum has also meant that we're developing teachers. And it's quite exciting to see all the different development that they've experienced, including really believing in the work that they're doing. And some of them, as you may know, have gotten a certificate in ethnic studies. So we're also celebrating that as well. In the time from the beginning of this, it took about a year for them to complete a certificate. And then we're also opening that up to the rest of your district for those people who would like to get a certificate in ethnic studies. So as I move forward, I just want to begin by acknowledging the land, skies, waters, animals, and people that influence and inspire our work. I acknowledge that I am a settler, an invited visitor on a land stewarded by Ohlone people. This land provides our physical home and sustains and nurtures our dreaming, thinking, learning, and creating. I hope that my words and work are in the right relationship to this land and its people. Our acknowledgements will evolve and expand as the land does, and we can always deepen what it means to honor, recognize, and interpret the teachings of the Ohlone people and our own familial ancestors as well. It's been a tough year for many, many people. I do want to acknowledge that we have lost some very, very important people who paved the path for ethnic studies. Elizabeth Betita Martinez, who was one of the leaders in the Chicano movement, really gave us so many gifts, so many understandings of the world. And really asked us to think deeply about how we are going to commit ourselves to ending oppression. And she was 95 years old. Another amazing person, Hanani K. Trask, died at the age of only 71. And she was one of the major leaders in the Hawaiian sovereignty movement. You might be familiar with her. And very much inspired me as a young scholar activist, because she was also a professor. I will also say in the last couple of days, we lost Robert Moses. You might be familiar with him because he was a civil rights leader, but he also developed an algebra project. I don't know if you are all familiar with the algebra project, but it was really this amazing merge between ethnic studies and math. And so I want to acknowledge the amazing work that Bob Moses left for us to continue. So land, ancestors, this is all part of it. Our teachers have very much developed ways to understand land, ancestors, and our current lives. And so I'm really excited to share this with you. So this is the slide deck that a lot of the teachers will be using. We created a lot of color in it for you all. So hopefully it's exciting for you and for the students in your district. So I don't need to, I'm just going to actually say this. Again, you are the first district in the United States. I'm currently working with 8 districts right now, and you will still be the first to have this curriculum wall-to-wall middle and elementary school. So I'm really excited. OUSD, Oakland Unified is really excited because they're going to try to model some of their work after the work that you all are doing. So we're excited for them as well. So a little reminder that you all came up with your vision. This is really from the teachers in your district. The whole idea of doing ethnic studies is about eliminating oppression and other forms of oppression, right? And that's really key as we move forward. We really want to acknowledge that the program that they've created promotes humanization, self-actualization, solidarity, and community building. And you'll see that as I move forward. I'm not going to read word for word, but the slide deck is available for all of you. Just so it's clear, we hope that the standards that we are setting really develop students' social, political, and academic literacy. This is important because a lot of times the curriculum for social science is substandard. And so we want to make sure that we really meet the ability to try to provide students with a relevant education that helps them understand their lives and the world that they live in. So this is where I'll land a little bit and start to go a little deeper. So we have 2 things going on. We have this middle school curriculum that is really tight and really complete. They're really at the end of completing it. They're literally just making slide decks and handouts at this point, right? And what's beautiful about what they created was they are matching with what some of the people in California are also doing, which is a 4 to 6 unit situation. In this particular case, your district has decided to go with 4 units in 1 semester. And so those units are self, systems, social movements, and solidarity. And I'm going to go quickly through some of this stuff. So just so you could see the overview of what they've created. So in every single unit, you will have what you will see in the curriculum when you actually open up all the folders, and there's a lot of folders. And so I'm going to just kind of give an overview right now. You will see that every unit has a unit purpose that really breaks down what are the problems in which this unit is trying to address. The second thing that you'll notice in each unit is a unit sequence. It's very, very, very organized. And the teachers, many of them are perfectionists. So we're going back and just trying to really tighten it up, which is exciting. Along with the unit purpose and unit sequence, you will see that there's weekly lesson plans. And it really shows you, it says weekly lesson plans, but it shows you daily within those weeks. And then you will have slides and handouts that all are streamlined together. So I'm excited to show you what these units look like. So yes, this is the specific design for your district. So Unit 1 is about self, Unit 2 is about systems, Unit 3 is about social movements, and Unit 4 is about solidarity. And so I'll start with Unit 1, which is self. So in this particular unit, students will have the opportunity to build a sense of self-love and identity. Like, imagine you all having this when you were in middle school. I mean, like, I didn't have this when I was in middle school. So to me, this is a wonderful beginning to ethnic studies, really allowing students to learn about who they are and have a great appreciation for their race, culture, ethnicity, and nationality. Many of those things are oftentimes shamed or silenced or marginalized. But in this unit, we allow students to really delve into all of those things, along with really delving into their family story and who they are. So I'm not going to go through everything here because we would be here all night, but I just wanted to show you that for each of the units, they have developed essential questions and enduring understandings. I mean, you can see here, this very first unit really centers the young people. It centers their identity. It centers the history that impacts their identity, centers the surroundings, all the things, including Daly City. Like, how did all these things impact who they are? And then ultimately, we want them to really consider who are the people sitting next to them, right? So that's really important in this unit. And I can go on, but that's pretty much the essence of this unit. This is the breakdown of the unit. You will see that every week they have a question that they're trying to answer. Of course, we're beginning with what is ethnic studies so that the students really understand what they're getting into. We move into who are you? What makes you who you are? We tackle the concepts of race and nationality in the first week. The second week. The third week, we then look into ethnicity and culture and how those things then impact identity. Fourth week, we talk about family, about community, and how that shapes identity. And then at the very end of the first unit is a really fun project around identity, which is a poem/mask making activity that we're really excited for the students to do. I'm sure that you're going to find some really cool ways to display the masks that they're going to create. So all the lessons look like this. So you'll notice that there's the C's, right? So each lesson will have a cultural ritual or energizer, critical concepts that they will go over, community collaboration, and a closing dialogue. So I'm not going to show you every single plan, but all of them look like this. So then I'll go quickly to Unit 2. We go from understanding oneself to understanding systems. So the focus here is about students learning about what a system is. We tackle white supremacy from the beginning of the unit, how that impacts the experiences of all people, including both students of color and white students. White supremacy impacts everyone. So students will learn how systems operate and how they can be changed. The unit will focus on schools as a site of a system or an example of a system. Again, we have our essential questions and enduring understandings, really slowly tackling these ideas of system, because system can be complicated. And so we're spending a lot of time breaking down the concepts in this unit. And then tackling the concept of white supremacy and racism, which we know has plagued our communities. And so we're really slowing it down in Unit 2. So they go from self and then they go into systems. So this is the unit sequence. You can see here that, what is a system? What is power? What is institutional racism? And then we go into this culminating project, which is a public service announcement where students actually get to create their own media. They're totally controlled by all this social media. So we want them to be able to create things that are positive in the world. And so they're going to be creating a public service announcement, pretty much denouncing systems that are oppressive. So, okay, so got two more and you'll be very quick. The Unit 3 is social movements. Really important, this unit, to really focus on what are the movements that have impacted our lives. So students will learn about what a social movement is, how they're created and sustained, and how students can create change and impact in society with their own social movements. And so we really focus on the notion of a transformational resistance by Solorzano's work, so that students feel like that they can understand how they can make real change in the world. So we go back into this idea of social movement. We have some amazing examples, including ethnic studies of Third World Liberation Front, including the United Farm Workers. We're really going into like looking at particular movements so that students can understand the history of social movements. The unit sequence is pretty direct, like looking at the idea of social movement, but then also looking at how do I identify a problem and how can I organize around addressing that problem? That should speak very closely to those of you who are on the board, like I feel that it's important, like to really teach young people early on how they can like tackle problems in the world and how to do it in an organized manner. And so we really teach them a process on how to really uncover what is a problem and how to address it in the world. And then we really focus on this idea of creating collective action. The culminating project for this is a social movement infographic that explains a particular problem that they want to address and how they want to address it. This should be very familiar because this is like the scientific method with a social justice purpose. And then the last thing is solidarity. So in this piece, we really hope that students leave this class feeling like that they can be in solidarity with each other. And so the idea is to build on the past units and also this unit to understand how they can pursue change toward true liberation for all people. Students will understand the core concepts of solidarity, liberation, collective action, intersectionality, and dismantling systemic oppression. Again, these are questions. We're connecting all the way from unit 1 to here. So we're coming back to what is identity? How do they identify themselves? How do we really understand intersection? And then looking at the concept of true liberation and then really delving into solidarity, which really is the goal for ethnic studies. So you'll see here, this is one of my last slides, how to connect it all. They're spending 4 weeks really delving into this. And then they end with a solidarity praxis project where the students work together to address a problem in their community and create a campaign to address it. So that's basically what we're looking at for a semester's amount of work. I just want to commend all the teachers and the administrators who helped make this happen. It was honestly, a blessing and honor to be able to work with them, especially during this pandemic. This was like, this is a glimmer of hope in the work that we do with CRE. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Ms. Tintianco. Literally this work began in the pandemic. I remember you came and presented to the board sort of the kickoff February 27th, I think. And then our first meeting, we had a first meeting. And then after that, it was all virtual. So thank you for your perseverance and for your support of our teachers and our staff during this time. And for just the wonderful work product that has been birthed out of that work over the last year and a half. I really do look forward to visiting classrooms and seeing it rolled out with our students. The second part of this presentation for the board is to understand just what this might look like at our middle schools on the practical level. Again, understanding that this is a pilot project. We're piloting what might work both at our different types of middle schools that we have in our district. And if there's one model that seems to work better than others, then that might be something we pursue more heavily in future years. So we have Ms. Dina Conti, the principal of Fernando Rivera, and Mr. Sean Higgins, the principal of FDR, and they're going to sort of share what's is being learned and being done to implement this curriculum at all 4 of our middle schools. And you'll get pictures and ideas of the different ways that it's rolling out. and how we might evaluate it, both mid-year and end of year to see how we move forward in the future years. So, Ms. Conti, I'll just turn it over to you.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Vidalis and board members. I am Dina Conti. I'm the principal at Fernando, and it's my pleasure this evening to present the middle school plan. So Allison went through a little bit about the 6th grade curriculum, it being about self-systems, social movements, and solidarity. I asked some of the teachers participating in the ethnic studies group to kind of give me a goal statement about what they hope their students will walk away with at the end of their study. And what we're hoping is that students will develop a better understanding of themselves, their community, and the systems around them. And the students will also develop an understanding and an appreciation for their ability to make change. They will hopefully find their voice to speak up and out. So really working on empowering our students in this process. So that being our goal, what it will look like actually on the ground at all of the middle schools is a little bit different. So the next several slides will kind of go over our plan to implement at our school. So at Fernando, we will be offering this to our 6th graders as a standalone elective. So it will be a semester class taught by Ms. Arroco Castillo and Ms. Fabry. We were able to put 3 periods of ethnic studies into our master schedule. So half of our kids will receive this in the fall, and then another 3 periods in the spring. So we're not quite able to service all of our students. We have 143 out of 172 6th graders that will be receiving ethnic studies at Fernando. When they're not in ethnic studies, they will be in either art or computer. It was not an elective that was really selected as a preference for our students, but it wasn't much of a surprise to me because they don't really understand or know what it is. So those students that picked art or computer, for part of that, they were given ethnic studies so that they get a choice, something that they wanted, and then also placing them into ethnic studies. There were a few that selected it, but it wasn't a popular choice. At FDR, I think there was one missing there. Ben Franklin. Ben Franklin is offering this to multiple grade levels. It will be a year-long class at Ben Franklin to 6th and 7th graders and 8th graders in a year-long class. They have 60 students or 10% of their total enrollment enrolled in ethnic studies. 85 students did select ethnic studies on their elective survey at Ben Franklin. It is being taught by social science teacher and ethnic studies design team member Matthew Roberto, who majored in African American studies and took courses in Latin American studies at San Francisco State. The elective at Ben Franklin will have a literacy and writing components in it, as it is a rigorous humanities course. All right, and now I will turn it over to Mr. Higgins.
Okay, thank you everybody for allowing us to speak tonight. Good seeing everybody. So at FDR, it is going to be part of our 6th grade elective wheel. We're on the trimester system, so it will be one of the 3 trimester classes. And students will be getting the first 2 units in 6th grade on self and systems. The following year, when they're in 7th grade, they will be getting the next 2 units. And we have 51 plus 6th graders total. That is all of our general ed students, plus we do have a large population of SDC students. And so in perhaps the 2nd or 3rd trimester, if their IEPs and mainstreaming is allowed with COVID, then that could be that number could increase. Dom Lamb is our teacher. He's been on the Ethnic Studies Committee for the past year, and he will be teaching this. His other classes are English Language Arts and Social Studies. And then the other trimesters where they won't be taking ethnic studies, they will be rotating through the various electives that you see listed there. TRP, they are offering this as an elective or as an integrated course in their reading and language arts class. So it's offered to 6th graders as a standalone elective as a year-long class. There's 2 periods offered, up to 60 students total, and that class is taught, or those classes are taught by Mr. Owens. Then there is another group that will be integrated into 2 sections of their 6th grade reading language arts class, and that's also for up to 60 students, and that is taught by Ms. Romley, who is the reading language arts teacher in 2nd period block with the EL students. So as Allison said, there's an evaluation of the program. Teachers will collect pre and post data from student surveys. There'll be qualitative evaluations of students' learning through formative assessments that Allison mentioned. Each unit has a summative assessment project that builds upon the previous concepts, and there's a culminating project to show their understanding of the intersectionality of all the 4 units. And then we are planning to expand the program. So this year, the teachers will continue to meet after school or at times outside of regular instruction to continue this program so it builds into 7th and 8th grade. All staff will be trained. So all subjects can be taught with an ethnic studies lens. And I was so interested when Allison said about the algebra project, because oftentimes math is kind of left out of any kind of ethnic studies issue. And so that's really nice that they're connected, because they definitely are very similar or have connections. And this is something that we're planning for sustainability and long-term implementation across our district and across our grades, and dedicated funding is for this training and for the staff. And so thank you for that. Are there any questions from the board?
I have no questions, but just wanted to say thank you for the presentations. I know this has been a project a long ways from just an idea to an actual curriculum, which it's really great to see that there's actually this whole detailed semester plan, ways that students can actually understand their identity in all these different units, which I think is great. I wish I got that when I was a student at Fernando. So yeah, just wanted to say thank you, everybody. Just look forward to see how all of this goes as we launch it this coming year.
I will say that I agree with everything that Trustee Koo has shared, that many of us have only thought about this many years ago when we initially had wanted to have it considered in our district. And I love that we have you, Allison, and as well as Ms. Conti, and also Mr. Higgins joining us from the middle schools. But Allison, your work with your team of colleagues there at San Francisco State does not go unnoticed. And I know with President Mano as well, we were very intentional about figuring out a way, working with Superintendent V. Dallas and figuring out how we can partner with you and your colleagues. So to have you be a part of this journey, and I appreciate you mentioning, Dr. Haunani, Kay Trask is someone, our Pacific Islander community is grieving the loss of her great work and her spirit. So to know that her work, her advocacy, her voice will be a collective in this movement is appreciated. Ethnic studies is so much more than this. And I love what you said. I love that you said that it is actually a response to some of the racism, that we have suffered for many years. And this is a bright spot for our district. And I love that you guys are all able to lift us up in this way through this initiative. And for us to be the only in the nation makes me proud again of Jefferson Elementary School District, who continues to raise the bar, not just for our county, but for our neighboring districts. And that speaks to the leadership on this board, but it definitely also speaks to the leadership of our superintendent and our administrators and all of you, our educators that are making sure that it happens, because you are the ones that will be administering, facilitating these and this level of engagement. And to hear that many students still have not bought into it because they don't know, well, I think it's exciting, because I think after this first semester of offering these 4 units, that it will set the tone that I'm hopeful that students will be lining up and there'll be a waiting list for the next round of signups and enrollment. So thank you. Thank you for this gift to our district and our students.
I would like to echo those sentiments. I think I've said this multiple times. I feel like I inherited this amazing gift to be able to come to a board that is doing this and putting it at the forefront. Our last special board meeting was us, finalizing our equity statement. Just all of the things that we're doing as a board truly shows that this is important to us. Ethnic studies is so much more than what's on paper. It's living and breathing it, and our community showcases the diversity of our community. And so we need to make sure that our curriculum does the same. What really stood out to me, and again, I appreciate everyone for their hard work on this, is that we're going to be dedicating funding to ensure that our teachers are trained to be able to implement this. Because if there is no buy-in from our teachers and our educators, then it's going to show when you're implementing it in our schools. And so ensuring that every single person that is educating our students understand the importance of this is just huge. Secondly, that we're going to train our staff to ensure that every single subject is led with this, I think is huge, because again, you can have, courses here and there, but if we're not leading with this every single day, it's not at the forefront of our minds, it's going to get lost. And as a Black woman raising Black children, I have had to train my children and teach my children separately from what the schools are teaching them, so that they understand who they are. They're proud when they show up in public. I have mentioned before my youngest experienced in our schools racism, and it broke my heart because she didn't understand. She was in TK at the time. She was 4 years old, and she didn't understand why people didn't want to play with her. And it was because of the color of her skin. And so for me, as a parent, I just couldn't fathom going through that as a child myself. And so this is having them lead with self-love of your community, of yourself, of other people, just because they're different. I'm extremely proud of our district, and I'm extremely excited to see how this trial goes. And I'm really hoping to see this get further down the line with not just our district, but other districts throughout the nation. So thank you again for your hard work on this.
Trustee Brusuela, do you have any words?
No, I'm excited about this as well. And I think it's great that we're approving this and that we're supporting it, and that we will be able to have all the students share. I think though, as I look back for all the years that I've served on this board, I think we have been inclusive to our students, and we have had many events that actually reached out to every child, no matter where they came from. Ben Franklin did a big thing, and many of the schools did as well, to make sure that everyone knows that everybody came from somewhere and has a following and what they believe in. And that every child is like one. Everybody is together. And I'm glad that we're doing this as well, and hope that we'll see the end result being really great. I'm glad for it. Thank you.
I also want to echo my fellow board members' appreciation to everybody involved in this project. Ms. Santiago Cabales, what a blessing it is to have you down with us and our team and our goals here with this district. And of course, Principal Higgins and Conti, thank you for your time this evening and of your dedication and your openness. It's all about, meeting at the table where everybody is at, and those efforts do not go unnoticed. And I appreciate the breakdown of how each school site is going to implement this, and it's going to be interesting to see how all of this plays out. I wish I could take one of these classes. I think even I would be able to benefit from this, and I'm kind of jealous of our students that they have this. And growing up as a kid in the 80s and 90s, this was far from where my curriculum was in public schools. So we as a whole appreciate all of your work. This means more than any of you could ever imagine, not only for our community at large, but for generations to come. And so, I especially want to send a huge, huge thank you to Miss Allison. Just thank you for being alive while I'm alive. It's just the appreciation. I don't even know how much I can extend for that. But I did have one question, and it's not necessarily mine. This is coming from concerns from our community, in that how is the curriculum being developed? Is this something that's pick and pulled? I know with the 4 concepts, the self and the systems and et cetera, was this pick and pulled from somewhere that was already, tried and true, shown success? Or is this something that we just kind of made up that was customized for us, which I think is really important? Or was it a combination of something else that already existed?
That's a great question, Maybell. And definitely is a combination. There is curriculum out there. This is not an adopted curriculum. This is something that your teachers created. But they did get to look at other people's curriculum, and they also are building off of what they already know as teachers and what the students can handle. I love that your teachers are really concerned about scaffolding everything. And so that's really important to note, that they are learning challenging and complex ideas, but your teachers have done such a great job, like piecing it together. There is a statewide curriculum, the model curriculum. We did not necessarily use that curriculum, but we did use some concepts from that. And we were guided by the guiding principles of ethnic studies. And I have to also acknowledge that there's several of your teachers who did get the ethnic studies certificate. And so they took 4 courses in ethnic studies during this time that I'm sure has influenced the way that they've shaped the curriculum. But no, there is no direct adoption from another district. But I will say that something to consider in the future, and this is something for your district, is as this curriculum starts to tighten up, you might want to consider publishing this curriculum so that other districts can then borrow and adopt your curriculum. That's a whole nother process that we should probably talk about, because as we move forward, districts are starting to look at middle school ethnic studies. There's a lot of districts who have kind of built a high school ethnic studies, but for your district, because it's a middle school piece, it is very different than what we've seen. And then also I'm anticipating, I think that we are almost at the place where we can start talking about the elementary school curriculum that this district is going to start to build. I will say that I mentioned earlier, Oakland Unified is really starting. I mean, they've got a high school curriculum, but now they are talking about middle and elementary. Santa Cruz County is also developing a middle school, the entire county, right? I will also say that your colleagues over at Jefferson Union High School have also now started to develop a contract around developing ethnic studies. So you inspired a lot of people already. And what comes out of this district will be really beneficial to other districts. So I just want to say thank you for trusting me and then trusting your teachers. And I also want to just be mindful that nothing's perfect. Nothing is a silver bullet. And so what I mean by that is we've got some work to do. This year is piloting. Let's see how it goes. For me, when I think about curriculum, you write it, you implement it, you pilot it, right? And then you go back and see what needs to be fixed. And so that's the process in which we're going forward. And there's so much that that we can do to fix it. And so I'm already seeing things that I want to like make sure that we edit before it even gets into your classroom. But I'm really, really happy with the team that y'all gave me. The people who stuck around are amazing people. And so I just want to say thank you, principals, for sharing your teachers with me. They've been great. They've been great to work with.
Before we take our public comment, Ms. Mania, may I address the board and the group here today?
Absolutely.
So it was great to hear from Ms. Jordan, and I just remember our conversation we had probably 12 months ago. And she asked me the question, do we ever get beyond Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks? You know, it's like, is that all that we ever learn about African-American history and African-Americans and contributions? And it was a great conversation to have, to say, well, we're working on this ethnic studies curriculum to be able to give students a broader sense of who they are and how they connect to the past and to the future. And we'll be piloting it. And you know, of course, as Ms. Jordan is great, she's like, well, that's too slow. It needs to happen tomorrow, you know, or yesterday. And I said, okay, I understand that sense of urgency and I have it as well. But at the same time, we really want to make this something that's deep and that can stick and not something that's a fly by night. You know, as long as I'm here, it keeps going. I want it to continue well beyond my time in the district, well beyond any of our principals' time in our district or our teachers. So this needs to go deep. And in order to do that, we go slow. And the students who get it, they benefit from it and it's great. And then we're building this upward. We're building 7th and 8th grade and we're building backward into elementary. And so eventually this will take root and just have a life of its own. So I'm encouraged by all that. I wish one of you, I will certainly do it, but I'm sure Mr. Ali would love to hear from any of you who want to just send him a message and say, hey, watch this video. This is part of what you helped bring to life, you know, many years ago when we started having these conversations. And I think Mr. Ali would really appreciate seeing this particular presentation today and likely bring a tear to his eye because it is beautiful. So I'm just very proud of this work, you know, and I'm so proud that this is a piece of work that is led sort of as a spearhead from our board. The board is setting the direction and saying we're going this way because this is not easy work. It will not be easy work. And it requires the support of a school board to bring it to fulfillment because it will get hard. We're going to lose teachers and they're going to move on. And we have to retrain a whole new set of teachers. And it does require a commitment. And I think Ms. Conti and Mr. Higgins mentioned, you know, we do need sort of a dedicated funding stream for this work to be able to train, raise up additional teachers and expand. So I'm glad that we have your commitment and you know, we can work together at figuring out how do we find this the funds that we need to do this. And there's going to be a series of choices that we'll have to make in order to do this. So I do hope that we continue with your support. Thank you, Ms. Tintiaco Cubales, for your team, wonderful educators who supported our educators to, envision themselves as ethnic studies educators. They had great models. And I think that, together we built something, and something that we want to continue building. And as I said, it's going to go up and it's going to go back. And exciting to hear that the high school district is also picking up this mantle, and knowing that there's a place for our students to land as they move into high school. And they've developed some of these concepts. These sixth graders are literally going to change the world, because they're going to keep growing in this in seventh and eighth grade, going to go into high school. And by the time, during those 6 years, we're going to see some things happen in our city and in our community that is going to be great for the communities of the people who live and work in this community. So I'm excited about that, and excited about where this leads our individual students, but our collective students as well. We do have one speaker, if you're ready for that, to hear from a member of the public.
Yes.
Okay, so Mr. Smith, we have a speaker, Mr. Matthew Roberto. You heard him mentioned earlier in the presentation. Mr. Roberto, if you would just press the button to accept the ability to speak, and then we can hear from you.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Oh, okay. So I just want to thank everyone, Allison and everyone, all my colleagues in the Ethnic Studies Department, and also like to thank everyone here on this board for really just backing this and being proactive with this. I think it's really exciting. Just very fast, I'm really looking forward to bringing this pilot to Ben Franklin, and all of us bringing this to the school. And for me personally, ethnic studies was a very big part of my life as a student, as a human being, and as somebody who really, really learned about my own heritage. And my professors, I owe them a debt of gratitude. And by teaching ethnic studies, it's a way that I could hope to bring back to the students and to everybody else in the community. So I just want to thank everybody. And if there's any questions for me, please feel free to ask. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, we're definitely looking forward to doing sort of a first trimester report from teachers and students who have worked on this for the first part of the year. It's, out of the mouth of babes, I think is the phrase that comes to mind, to hear from firsthand from the learners how this is impacting them. So I look forward to that opportunity.
Likewise, was there another speaker card, Superintendent Morales?
No, we just had one today.
Okay. Thank you all so much for your time, Ms. Tintiago Cabales, Principal Higgins, and Conti. Thank you again for your presentation. Definitely great to see, and we appreciate all of your work, all of your diligence, and just kind of the synergy that's happening here for our students. It's great to see, and it's such a positive and happy thing, I think, for us. So thank you again for your time tonight and this evening.
Can I do 30, just 1 second? I just need to thank Stephanie Martinez, who was basically at almost every single meeting. And as an administrator, she really did not need to be there, but she was engaged like full on. So I just want to acknowledge Stephanie. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much. It was nice to know that we did have a liaison in administration and CRE and our teachers that could help guide this work and provide the support needed when it was needed.
Thank you. And I am not surprised Ms. Martinez has her hand in so many things with our district. So
Too many things. Good work, but lots of work.
yes, definitely. Super lucky to have you here, Ms. Martinez. Thank you. I think we should move on to 9B, which is the notice of termination of contract to purchase electronic equipment. The administration recommends that the board authorize the termination of the district's contract with General Data Tech as allowed for in contract, and then re-advertise for new bids at an appropriate time for a revised scope of work. Ms. Kessler, thank you for joining us.
I'm happy to be here. Are there any questions I can answer about that? I think you've got the information. There was a bid protest, and it was determined that it would be in our best interest to redetermine our scope of work and go out to rebid. And so that is what we would like to do. Legal counsel has expressed that this is within our right, since the notice to proceed had not been issued.
Any questions or comments from the board? Are we, Ms. Kessler, going to be notified of when you do put it back out for bid?
We will go out to bid, and then we would bring it to you for approval, as this one was. And then if you have questions about it, we would be more than happy to answer them.
I have a question.
Sure.
Okay. When you say you're going to do all this stuff and then you're going to bring it back to us, do we not have a choice to decide who we want?
Well, we do go with the lowest responsible bidder, and that is what we believed we were doing. But I'm sorry.
I'm just going to say to you that in the past, we were given, say, 3 recommendations and let the board decide who we would feel comfortable to have. But it sounds like you guys are making the decision for us. That's all.
Well, okay. I mean, I understand that. We do.
Thank you.
Okay.
I would like to see the top 3 recommendations.
We do have a legal obligation to take the lowest responsible bidder.
I understand that, but I'd like to see all of that.
Yeah, so Mrs. Brizuela, in the past, when the board has made the selection, it's been for services and not for this type of work. They're categorized differently in state law.
I would still like the information.
Oh, sure, certainly.
I don't understand why it's like we don't get it. For many years, this board got that information. If you feel that this board is not capable of being able to look at something, let us know.
I have a question. I know that in the past, we've had topics come up where there's been several companies or bidders on topics, and then we come as a board to sort of decide one. I guess, is this one of those things where, as a board member or just as a regular constituent, could you easily tell the difference, or is it more going into the weeds where it just becomes way too complicated for just you or me or somebody else to be able to actually decide a winner?
So the easy, quick answer to this, and I think Ms. Kessler started to speak about this, this is not for services. So we don't get to apply a selection criteria. We define the work that needs to get done, and we put it out to bid, and we receive bids from bidders. We determine like with an objective scale of who is responsible in terms of bidding, and we are required to take the lowest responsible bidder. It's not our choice. And so that's the way that this type of work goes. And it is, you've had experiences where you've wanted to be a part of selecting services. And it has sometimes gotten very far into the weeds. And if that's how the board wants to spend their time, that's your choice. But I do think that in this particular case, you do not get a chance. Nobody gets a chance to decide who gets awarded the bid. We can reject all bids. And in this case, we're saying we're going to be changing the job. So we're going to be putting it out to bid again later. And so that's the choice that we get right now.
Okay, I'll like to say one more thing. Being the longest serving board member on this district, I guess I can use my past experience to share with you. It's not saying that we want to do the picking of it, or that we're supposed to get the lowest bidder and all this stuff, but we at least had the privilege or the opportunity to view it, to feel comfortable. And if you want me to pull out some old documents to show you when it was not good, I can do that. But why can't we know? And why can't we feel good about what's happening? That's all. But I won't discuss it anymore.
Ms. Kessler, I had a question, and I'm just thinking of any parent who may be like me or someone in the community that would read this, just for the sake of transparency and clarity, just in understanding. When I read it, my take on it is that the reason we are moving forward to revisit the scope of work and update that and then put it back out for a new bid is that because of possible litigation when I'm reading it. But I just want to get a better understanding or at least some level of clarity in understanding, outside of that, is there another way we can explain it? Or is there something that maybe I'm not understanding in my reading of that? And I hope I make sense. I'm just going by what I just read. I mean, if I'm reading and I think it makes it seem like we're making the choice based on possibly being sued by the second, but that's why I'm saying, am I misunderstanding what I'm reading? I think if it could be explained, I would appreciate it.
Yes, I can totally understand your thought process on it. Basically, when one party comes forward and does a protest and they say why they're protesting, and then the other party can say, well, that's not valid. And then the two parties are like arguing with us with attorneys and nothing is moving forward. And we've seen that no matter which direction we have to go in, it's going to be an issue. And we also recognize as months go by, because these bidding processes take months, that there are things change, especially with technology. And then we look at the scope and say, well, we could be better served by changing the scope. Basically, in a sense, it would be like rejecting all bids, but we do not necessarily know if another contractor is going to say, I don't think that they bid properly. And so we protest it. And so, yes, I can see where you're coming from. Absolutely. And it's hard to say if we moved forward with it, but had the opportunity to actually change some of the scope, if what we would actually in the end prefer as time goes on. Of course, no matter what, every time you spend months doing something, by the time you're done, it could be updated anyway. So this is a case where we can go back and forth between two unhappy contractors, or we could say, okay, we're just going to start from scratch and make sure that if there's anything that was unclear in our request for proposal, that we make sure that there is no question, but these requests for proposals are very lengthy, and they're difficult to do. And from time to time, you get companies that protest, and sometimes it's legitimate, and sometimes it's sour grapes. And we have, whether it's legitimate or sour grapes, we have to deal with it.
Thank you, Ms. Kessler. My last question on this, I promise. Will the going back out for rebid, will that hamper any deadlines or impact any work that needs to be done for the district?
So I'm going to say no. I do see that Tony is on, so she can speak to it further than I can. However, with this particular E-rate funding, we have a whole additional year to go out. We just thought we would go out at the time, try not to wait till the last second in case there was a problem, and have the opportunity to deal with any kind of problems. So issues, whatever. And this is that type of a situation. As for the needs of the district, I would have to defer to either Mr. Vidalis or to Ms. Baroni to speak to those.
I'd be happy to speak to that piece. As Julie mentioned, we do participate in the E-rate program through Universal Services, and we do receive heavy discounts because of our student population. And we are able to use one-time funding in a window of time of 3 years. So as Julie said, we applied now knowing if it didn't go through, we still have another year to access these funds. So it's really not putting off anything we're going to do. It's really just giving us an opportunity to reshape it, actually get newer technology that's going to be 6 months newer than what we would have done now. This was all happening during distance learning too, so it's really helped us kind of revision what we want for our classrooms and what our needs are. And so we are within our window of time to utilize our E-rate funds and not lose any of that funding. So it's not really putting off anything we need to do. It was just sort of getting ahead of something we want to do, and it will be perfectly fine doing it next year as opposed to this year. And to answer the question about when we will go out to bid again, USAC states all of those timelines. So we just follow their timelines. It's typically in the January, February, March window, and they will let us know when we can post a request for proposal and when all of those bids are due. So it won't be imminent. It'll definitely be sometime early next year.
Thank you.
President Manu, would it be okay if I make a motion on this item?
Absolutely.
I want to make a motion that the board authorize the termination of the district's contract with General Data Tech as allowed for in contract, and then re-advertise for new bids at an appropriate time for revised scope of work.
I second that motion.
I have a question. Can I?
Sure.
By terminating, what's happening in between? If we terminate, what's going to happen?
We just go out to rebid.
Okay. What's going to happen between the time we cancel it to the time it can? Are we being covered by anything? What's going to happen between that amount of time it's going to take?
Yeah, so this is, we were being proactive, as we often are. We're looking ahead and saying, what are we going to need in the future in terms of our district technology and our systems? And what we have now is working well. As we're thinking ahead, we're realizing we need some improvements. And so this was one of those measures that we took to say, let's improve our connectivity, let's improve our access points, let's improve our network. Like I said, what we have now is meeting our needs today and probably for tomorrow, but it may not meet our needs next week if we're talking about every day is a year. So we'll be fine for the time being, and we'll be fine until the next rebid happens. So
I'm not sure that everybody's understanding what I'm trying to ask. If we stop it now, does that mean we have nothing here until we get something else down there?
Oh, no, I can speak to that. We
Okay,
have
thank you.
wireless connectivity in every classroom, in every office space, in every area, in all of our buildings. This is just going to be replacing a lot of equipment to set us up for the next several years. So we are just fine, as Mr. Vidal said, and everything will continue to run smoothly until a year from now when we start to replace this equipment.
Thank you. It
So we're
made it
not
sound like we were
missing
stopping
anything.
it. See?
We're not stopping anything. The equipment we
Okay.
have is functional, it's working, it's
Okay.
providing internet every day, and it will be just fine until we do the upgrade that will set us up for the next few years.
Okay, thank you. Somehow that little piece didn't seem to connect, but thank you, Nick.
Yes.
Thank you.
So we do have a motion. Did we get a second on this?
I'll second it. Thank you.
Okay, good, already. There's a motion and a second already on the floor.
Okay.
So I think I need a voice vote for this. Is that correct, Superintendent?
Correct. Mhm. Yeah, go ahead and call it. Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
I
Aye, that was unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Moving on to 10A, certificated resignations. The administration recommends approval of the following resignations and requests an appropriate resolution be prepared for commending those with 10 or more years of service with the district. Vivian Forte, music teacher at Fernando, effective June 11, 2021. Ms. Forte has been employed by the district since August 11, 2016. Jennifer Nope, principal of Daniel Webster, effective June 18, 2021. Am I saying that right? Ms. Nope? Knopf?
No,
No, thank you, sorry. Has
Sure.
been employed by the district since July 29, 2015. Roy Mozart Mercado, PE and social studies teacher at TRP, effective June 11, 2021. Mr. Mercado has been employed by the district since August 18, 2017. Yvette Sampior, kindergarten teacher at JFK, effective June 11, 2021. Ms. Sampior has been employed by the district since December 18, 2001. Bridget Shea, kindergarten teacher at FDR, effective June 11, 2021. Ms. Shea has been employed by the district since August 16, 2018. And Brooke Clark, counselor at MHT and TE, effective 6/11/2021. Ms. Clark has been employed by the district since August 7, 2015.
thank you very much, everybody. Well, it was a tough year last year, and you know, I did expect some folks to leave, and some, you know, were here for quite a while, and I do want to thank all of them for their service here in the district, and you know, I wish them all the best in their years to come, and I would appreciate the board members taking action to approve their request for resignation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If no other discussion, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the following resignation and request an appropriate resolution be prepared, commending those with 10 or more years for their use of service. Vivian Forte, Jennifer Knopf, Rory Mozart Mercado, Yvette Sempior, Bridget Shea, and Brooke Clark.
Second the motion.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
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 It was unanimous. Thank you so much. Moving on to D, administrative appointment 2021-2022. The administration recommends approval of the following administrative appointments. Catherine Armstrong, elementary principal at Daniel Webster, effective July 13, 2021. 214 workdays, IMWOMA, step 2. Aubrey Duffy, Dean of Academics at FDR, effective August 3, 2021, 198 workdays. 1FWOMA, step 1, and Anthony Sujizaki, vice principal at Fernando, effective July 28, 2020, 206 workdays. 1MWMA, step one. I believe Ms. Armstrong and Mr. Sujizaki want to share a few words after our vote, but if no other discussion, I'll take a motion.
I'll make the motion. I'd like to make the motion as recommended by the administration to approve the following appointments for Ms. Catherine Armstrong, to Daniel Webster as the principal, to Ms. Aubrey Duffy as Dean of Academics at FDR, and to Anthony, I should not be butchering anyone's name, I have no right.
Sujisaka.
Sujisaka as vice principal at Fernando.
Second the motion.
Thank you.
So that there's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 That was unanimous. Congratulations.
Great, thank you all very much. Like you said, I believe we have Ms. Armstrong as well as Mr. Sujisaka here in the meeting. Mr. Vidalis, would you like to bring them, one of them in first? Ms.
Sure.
Armstrong? Oh, there they are.
Yeah,
Hey,
Ms.
they're both
Armstrong,
there.
yeah.
Blink my eye, and there they are.
If you wouldn't mind, just speaking a few
No,
words
I'd be,
to the board.
happy to. So, we did have some folks leave, but that does make room for new folks to come on in. And Ms. Armstrong, who has worked several years in our district in administrative capacity, and also was one of the few people that I worked with right when I came to the school district at John F. Kennedy. I'm really happy that she's able to move into the position over at Daniel Webster. And then Mr. Sujisaka, who I haven't had the experience to work with, but I did work with someone. I'll let him tell about his mom, but you'll hear it from him in a moment. But I'm really happy to work with them and in these new capacities and as we move into the new school year. So with that, Ms. Armstrong, would you like to say anything?
Sure. I just want to thank you all for this opportunity. I'm super excited to be joining the staff at Daniel Webster. They have created a really special school under Jennifer's guidance, and my hope is to continue a lot of the hard work that they've done there. Everything from a dynamic after-school program that includes tutoring and art and cooking and all kinds of things there, to a really great UA program during the day that provides support for students who need additional learning. And I think they've shown a real strong program of academic success. And my hope is to keep that going and to even improve it further. And I just wanted to, I have to read because I wanted to make sure I get through it. We had to just, for finishing my credential, we had to sort of say, what our own vision mission was. And my thing of creating schools is to create a school that is like home. And what I mean by that is that it's somewhere where we are loved, respected, and cared for. And along those lines, then, it is a place where everybody who comes there feels that they have an opportunity to be successful, that they are seen and valued and safe, and that they can grow and continue to face this world that we're coming up to in ways that are creative and inventive. And I think it's very inspiring to hear all the things that have come before, because I think it fits in with the vision of where we're headed. And I'm really excited to be part of that.
Thank you, Ms. Armstrong. Would any of the board members like to comment on Ms. Armstrong or any questions?
I would. I had the pleasure of working with Ms. Armstrong when I was on the executive board at Ben Franklin. I'm really excited to see her face here tonight and that she is going to be taking this role at Daniel Webster. She was a great asset at the Ben Franklin community, and she is going to continue to be an asset in our district. And so I'm really excited for you, Ms. Armstrong. I'm so happy to see you taking this role and doing what you love, and helping and continuing to foster our community and our students. So thank you for being here and for taking on this role.
Thank you, Ms. Jordan. Thank you very much, Ms. Armstrong. All right, Tony, you're on, sir. I like that background there.
Yeah, thanks. I made it just for you all. Oops, wrong way. Hello, everybody. So for those of you who don't know me, which is almost everybody, my name is Anthony Sujisaka. The T is silent, the rest is phonetic. Trust me, I've never had a graduation who's ever been able to pronounce it right. If you pronounced it right, I'd be shocked, but thank you. But yeah, just a little bit about me. I am coming from the South San Francisco Unified School District as a 4-year math teacher. In 4 years, I've managed to accomplish my second year. I was an assistant principal for this high school program for summer. And then the previous 2 years, I've been the principal of an elementary and middle school program as a 3rd and 4th year teacher. And then that's a little bit about my background. Furthermore, I have 4 credentials, a master's in administration. My 3 credentials are in math, education, and theater arts CTE credentials. But as Mr. Valenti said, I'm hoping to live up to my mother's reputation in this district. She worked in this district for 30 years. If you've seen my last name before, that's where. And so I'm hoping to live up to her expectation, and she is continuing to work as a substitute right across the street from where I currently now work at Fernando Rivera at Thomas Edison. So I'm looking forward to seeing her at work, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all around. And hello, Clayton. I know you know my brother.
Thank you very much, Tony. And again, I open the floor to anybody. Any comments to Tony? Is that Ms. Brizuela? I see your hand.
Yes, I like to say welcome, and I'm really pleased to see that you're going to be on staff with us. And I know you're going to do a fantastic job. And thank you for caring enough to make our district even better. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to continuing my educational journey with you all.
Great.
I have a comment / question. Is your hair blue?
Actually, no. So actually, I just got it dyed today. It's actually green. My camera is color enhancing, but it actually enhanced it wrong. As you see in this picture right here, it's actually green for Fernando Rivera. If you ever meet me in person, I'll show you.
Oh, I love that. And I like that you show creativity, even though you have a math background, which shows that it doesn't matter. You can be creative and smart and lead and create change. And so thank you for being here and welcome to our district.
And as Mr. Valenti knows, I almost never go to their office or anywhere without one of my animal hats. So I brought one for you all. I am trying to give the example to our students that we can be both professional and personable, and that balance can be kept. So thank you for noticing.
Nobody asked me about my hair anymore. Thank you, Anthony.
I was going to say, I just want to echo my congratulations to Ms. Armstrong and Mr. Sujisaka. I can see your last name. I've seen your last name test. Yeah, just want to congratulate both of you and wishing you all the best for the coming school year.
And everything that was said, especially what Trustee Jordan has shared and expressed. I love that you're both invested in our district. We definitely need to continue to have quality educators, and I appreciate your investment here with us. Thank you, welcome, and congratulations again.
Thank you both.
I also just want to extend my congratulations to the both of you. Thank you for joining us this evening. It's great to see your faces. I know we're still in that kind of weird time, but I'm glad you can extend your time here tonight and say your few words. And we definitely look forward to working with you in the future. And congratulations again.
Thank you, and congratulations, Ms. Armstrong. I don't know you, but I look forward to.
Thank you, and I do love your hat.
Somehow I don't get to see you, but that's okay. Something's wrong with
It's all got a big BTS vibe, and I'm a huge fan, so.
Classic. Well, thank you both. Go get prepared for your new hardworking year. We'll see you soon, guys. Thanks.
Thank you. We're going to move on to item E, variable term waiver. The administration recommends approval of a variable term waiver for Anthony Sujisaka. Did it right. Vice Fernando to waive the required 5th year of teaching in order to obtain his preliminary administrative services.
Yeah, so as Anthony had mentioned, he was on a fast track. He did a lot of work moving through his short tenure as a teacher. He's been teaching for 4 years. And part of the credentialing process for administrators is having 5 years teaching experience. Because he was only in his 4th year when we picked him up, we needed to request the variable term waiver to the Commission on Teacher Credentialing in order for them to provide his Tier 1 credential to begin working. So it's sort of a perfunctory item that does need to be approved by the board before we can make the formal credential through the Commission on Teacher Credentialing. So the request is that the board take action to approve that variable term waiver.
If no discussion, I'll take a motion.
I'll make the motion. I make the motion to approve, as recommended by the administration, the variable term waiver for Anthony Sujisaka, Vice Principal of Fernando Rivera, to waive the required 5th year of teaching in order to obtain his preliminary administrative services.
Second motion.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 That was unanimous. Thank you so much. And congratulations again to Mr. Sujisaka.
Thank you all very much.
We're going to go to item 11A, retirement. The administration recommends approval of the retirement request from the following classified employees and requests appropriate resolutions be prepared commending them for their years of service with the district. Jill Jarkovsky, School Administrative Assistant at GW, date of hire August 28, 2000, effective July 30, 2021. And Shirley C, School Administrative Assistant at JFK, date of hire 8/29/01, effective June 30, 2021. Mr. Valenti?
Yeah, just a couple of words. You mentioned it before. We're so fortunate in our district in so many instances to have people that stick around. And, you know, while some sure they have a few years and they move to the next level, Shirley and Joe, both here 20 plus years, working in different capacities, really part of their community. And I, you know, while I regret seeing them retire, I'm really happy for them and hope that they have good times in their retirement. So please, if I can request that the board take action and approve their request with the requisite accommodations.
Thank you, Mr. Valenti. If no discussion, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the retirement request for the following classified employees and request appropriate resolutions be prepared, commending them for the years service with the district. Jill Jarkovsky and Shirley C.
Second the motion.
Motion in a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 That would be unanimous. Thank you so much. And congratulations on your new chapters in life. Thank you so much for your dedication to our district. We really appreciate you and all of your work with us. Now moving on to 11B, resignations. The administration recommends approval of the resignations from the following classified employees and requests an appropriate resolution be prepared for commending those with 10 or more years of service with the district. Chaz Chan, SCIA at JFK, effective August 4, 2021, date of hire September 17, 2012. Maria Makalisang, SCIA at Garden Village, effective 7/16/2021, date of hire January 18, 2007. Alvin Vincent Animo, instructional assistant PE at GW, effective 6/11/2021, date of hire 9/15/2014, and Rina Mabini, SCIA at JFK, effective 6/11/2021, date of hire 1/4/2016.
At the risk of repeating myself, I do want to thank all of my colleagues that have put in their many years here with the district. These classified personnel folks have been dedicated employees, and we're also fortunate that Mr. Chan will be moving into the certificated ranks, working in the special ed department. So he's been a long time classified special circumstance aide, but all the folks, Maria, Chaz, Alvin, and Rena, all deserve our thanks and appreciation.
Thank you, Mr. Valenti. If no other discussion. Mr. Fu?
I'll make a motion that we approve the resignation from the following classified employees and request an appropriate resolution be prepared commending those with 10 years of service with the district: Chaz Chan, Maria Makisalang, Alvin Vincent Animo, and Rina Mabini.
I second that motion.
Motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, thank you so much. And to all of the staff, we appreciate your time that you committed to our district. Moving on to board governance matters. Revised district safe opening plan for 2021-2022 school year. Superintendent Vidales?
Mr. Vidales, should I just go ahead and get going, or do you want to do a brief intro?
Yeah, I'll do a brief intro and then Mr. Valenti will present. So as you know, both California Department of Public Health and the Centers for Disease Control have issued new school guidance and protocols. So this is just sort of a revision of our previous plan, incorporating some of these changes, underscoring some of the same practices that we had, and supporting us in moving forward as we start school in here in a few weeks. And I understand that the county's pandemic recovery framework is also being updated. And so we'll be looking at that when it's released and determining if there's going to be future changes or additions to this particular plan. So Mr. Valenti worked really hard on this over the last few weeks. As you know, this guidance just sort of drops in our laps out of nowhere with no hints of what's coming, and we have to quickly retool and get things updated. And so this is our effort at doing so. So Mr. Valenti, you can share
Sure.
the content and the process that you went through.
Yeah, thank you very much. As Mr. Vidal said, this recent guidance came out and trying to get the nexus of what the CDC is saying, as well as what California Department of Public Health is putting out there. Well, very similar, they'll use different terms. So trying to make sure I was integrating it. Much of what you'll see in my presentation is similar to what we discussed last year as we began the return to in-person learning. Just contextually, we were very successful both in having students return, as well as in those situations in a safe manner, and in those situations where there were families or students that tested positive, that happened at the home. There were not cases that were happening from student to student or staff member to staff member in the school. So we felt really confident about our mitigation practices that were in place, as well as I want to give a shout out to all those staff members that did all the communication with the families. Our families were very understanding when we did have to make some of those calls to quarantine classes. So moving forward, I'm going to share my screen with you, and then afterwards you'll have an opportunity to ask me any questions. And then with your documents, you have a link to the actual safe return plan. Let me make sure I open the right. All right. Oops, sorry about that, guys. Open it to full screen. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay,
Yes.
Great. That's one. Go backwards. There we go. So thank you very much. This is a presentation of the Jefferson Elementary School District Safe Opening and COVID Protection Plan. The COVID Protection Plan component of this was part of our Cal OSHA requirements and is integrated into the appendix of the document. Just from a beginning, looking through an equity lens that the district's committed to ensuring that the health and safety of our students and our staff, as well as the general community at large, is first and foremost. And that our goal is to provide all students with safe access to full day in-person instruction, 5 days a week, and also fostering the social emotional well-being for our students. It was very impactful on our families, as well as our students and staff last year, the way we had to operate, with a strong emphasis on vaccination for all eligible individuals. That's both students that are eligible and staff. We're fortunate here in Daly City and North County and the Bay Area that we do have a higher vaccination rate than some areas. So that's a real positive thing to consider. The new guidance from the California Department of Public Health, CDPH, and the Center for Disease Control really had some specific foundational principles that we wanted to include in this update. And those are that all students have access to safe and full-time in-person instruction. We don't have waivers from the state reducing instructional minutes and things like we had last year. We are back to our expected instructional timelines. That everyone on a school campus will be wearing a face covering when indoors. There's been a lot of back and forth about that. That is a universal practice we tend to keep in place, and that is the guidance. We will strive to maintain at least 3 feet of physical distancing whenever possible indoors. It is not a requirement to maintain 3 or 6 feet. It is just to, especially when we have other mitigation strategies such as using face coverings, ventilation, and when possible, an outdoor setting for classes. And always supporting the regular hand hygiene. We'll have all of our hand wash stations as well as the different sanitizing gels that were available last year available. Those were very successful, we feel, in protecting our students and our staff and families, and we'll continue with that. Some general considerations that were put forward in the new guidelines is that the surest path to maintain safe and full in-person instruction is to get COVID rates down through the community. The factors they're going to be looking at when they consider moving forward are the level of community transmissions, the vaccination coverage in the community, if there's any local COVID outbreaks and looking at the trends. Also, there is a new targeted quarantine practice that will be in place for those students that may be vaccinated as opposed to students that aren't vaccinated. All of these are links to the California Department of Public Health that have the information that's also included in the plan that you received. And the policies and the procedures in this plan will be continually updated as health information from the local and state health agency becomes available. We are still waiting for the San Mateo Public Health. As Mr. Vidales mentioned, they were using the pandemic recovery framework to put out their guidance, which will be a convergence of the CDPH as well as probably some of the information from the CDC. We're really putting it out there and really making the message that it's very important for folks that are eligible to vaccinate, whether they be students over 12, staff members, family and community members. We know that vaccination is one of the most effective ways to reduce transmission and severe disease in our community. While there have been instances, I believe one of our board members mentioned that there's been positive tests with folks that have been vaccinated. I know several people myself, but we do know and we continue to advocate for folks to get vaccinated. We held some clinics as well at the beginning of the summer. Students, as I mentioned, that are age 12 or older are eligible to receive the vaccine. And we're waiting to hear more information on students under 12 that they may not be eligible to get the vaccine until early 2022. But right now, we're waiting to hear. We are asking, we have been tasked with, I should say, getting information on the number of our staff that is vaccinated. So we will have a self-certification of vaccination status that will go out with our regular annual documents to staff members. If you'd like to look at it, it's both available here or in your the plan itself. And there's additional California-specific vaccine access information at the Safe Schools Hub and the Vaccine All 58 information. That was also included in Mr. Vidalis's email to the community, I believe it was last week. So one of the main mitigation practices that we have in place is, of course, our ventilation and filtration, and that maximizing outside airflow is one of the simplest and most effective ways to maintain a healthy classroom and environment. All of our classrooms will either have their air handling systems that have the MERV 13 filters, or they have a HEPA filter separate unit. I believe in many cases we have both of them in the classroom. We also advocate, and in many, even at the district office, the doors and windows are open. So ventilation and filtration is very important. We'll be running our air handling systems and equipment with the recommended filters all day, every day. We encourage, like I mentioned, that schools have open doors and windows at all times, weather permitting. Of course, you know, we're in the fire season and things like that. So if there's smoke days, we're going to have to come together and address that. Also utilizing our campus as outdoor spaces for instructional use as much as possible. I know you say, oh, it's not too warm out there, but our kids love to be out there. And I know certainly with our PE instruction, as well as our music programs, how can we use outdoor spaces as much as possible? And I mentioned the portable HEPA filters and fans when appropriate to increase outdoor air ventilation. We'll also be encouraging for lunch, and we have some new tables going out for those schools when the kids, so they can eat outside the multi-use room. Again, not only to limit the number of students inside, but to give them that outdoor access. Maintaining a clean classroom and school environment is extremely important. It was a big topic of discussion last year as we began this process of returning to in-person instruction. The safety of our staff and students is our first priority, and the CDPH guidance regarding cleaning is pretty clear. And that's that a once-a-day cleaning is usually enough to sufficiently remove potential viruses that may be on surfaces. Cleaning just as the general cleaning of mopping, vacuuming, removing trash, cleaning doors and door jambs and other touch spaces will happen throughout the day, as well as with our night custodians when students are not present. And then we'll make sure to use disinfectants that are approved by the US Environmental Protection Agency that are proven to be strong against COVID-19. And that would be more if there was a positive case in a classroom or a school site. So these are similar practices that we had in place last year. And again, we had a really good outcomes through that. The frequency of cleaning, and these are just some general categories, and general workspaces and classrooms would be at the end of each day. Appliances in the staff room would be daily, electronic equipment, things of that nature. Shared copiers would be at the end of the day and or between use. General use objects like handles, light switches, we're going to try to keep those going on a regular basis. We call those the touch points. And just general common areas, library, cafeterias, conference rooms at the end of the day and between groups. We are going to encourage folks when possible, you know, to not eat all together in the staff room, you know, try to find outdoor alternatives. It's just really too early to go back to full normal, but we do want to make sure we keep up the extra level of cleaning. But again, these are all in line with what the CDPH has put out, as well as what we had from the county prior. Physical distancing, that's a big topic of discussion. And I mentioned earlier in my introduction that we're striving, and this is right out of the language, to maintain at least 3 feet of physical distancing whenever possible. It is not a mandatory thing like last year where we had to have 6 feet of physical distancing, which really limited the number of students we could have both on the campus or in other parts of the school. Most of our classrooms have been put to bare bones, so we are encouraging schools as they build their classrooms back to focus on the seating and stuff for the students first, the teachers, and build back their libraries and things like that. We really want to make sure to the greatest extent possible, especially in this safe opening process, to when possible, keep that distance from one another. But really the thing is masking, keeping those face covers on, keeping the ventilation going. So recent evidence indicates that in-person instruction can occur safely without the minimum physical distancing requirements when the other mitigation strategies such as universal face coverings are implemented. We've now had 2 years of the Big Lift summer programs, which were both in person. This year we had our extended school year summer program for our special day students, which was very successful. We haven't had that in person in some time. So we're very comfortable with that. Our practices in place, as well as the wearing of face coverings, has been a successful mitigation factor. Indoor instruction will have a maximum average of 24 students in PK preschool through 3rd grade. That doesn't mean, and 32 students in 4th through 8th grade classrooms. That doesn't mean all classrooms are 24 and all classrooms are 32. Some may have more students, while many have less. Larger classroom spaces can also allow for additional students while maintaining physical distancing. And that's very appropriate for like PE, and we have our dance programs and things like that that are a little larger classes usually. We are really though aiming to keep class sizes, keep an eye on class sizes in order to keep, again, try our best to maintain the 3 feet when possible. Limiting gatherings. We have not gotten any new guidance from CDPH regarding limiting gatherings. While we will begin the year with a limit on gatherings on school grounds, similar to like we had last year. Right now, as schools get ready for orientations, both kindergarten or at the middle schools, we're encouraging that either it takes place on a very small basis, like class by class, or that they do it outside. So they're working on that to make sure families and new students can come on and see the schools. It should be noted though that instruction of students is not considered a gathering in this way. So the family should expect that the following events might be conducted in a physically distant manner or remotely, especially as kids are present, just as we roll out the new year. We're anticipating more direction from the county very soon. So it might be something where we'll be able to do more in-person things, including our school board meeting, which is on my list of items there. But right now too, as far as after-school sports or on-campus volunteering, right now we're not going to be moving forward with that until we get more guidance from the county or the state. The cafeteria and meal periods, as you might recall, last year food was a grab and go service, both for students that were on campus as well as students that were either in our virtual program or were, I guess in the virtual program. Those are my 2 options. But the new guidance does recommend that physical distance between people is maximized as much as possible, like I've mentioned before. But quote, there is no need to limit food service approaches to single-use items or packaged meals. So we don't have to just hand them a bag and they take it to go. So we will be offering in-person food, breakfast and lunch each day in our multi-use rooms. There might be classes like our kindergarten students who might do it in their classrooms or in their play areas, but everything will be at school. Students will eat there and return to class after. School sites, or elementary school sites for that matter, may provide a more staggered schedule for meal distribution, just so they can reduce the number of students that are in the multi-use room at any one time. I recall when I first became principal at Woodrow Wilson, we had 4 lunches. I believe the person who came in after me reduced that to about 2. They may end up going back. So all the principals are working with their staffs as well as our food service department to make sure that we can accommodate our students and this program. Eating outdoors should be done as much as feasible. I mentioned earlier that we'll be buying some benches for outdoor eating for some of our schools. Our Mr. Vidalis is and our maintenance department is working towards that. There'll be a big focus again on cleanliness and making sure we get in there and do the cleaning ongoing. We will, for our homeschool independent study students, and there's more to come on that, if students that perhaps aren't going to be in the program, we will be able to provide a meal service to them where they can get their meals for multiple days, similar to the program we had in place last year for the students that were in the virtual, also for the Daly City Youth Lunch Program. Sorry that this font is so small. I wanted to just put a couple of things out there. Unlike last year where we were required to have a virtual option, or at least 100% at-home option for those families that did not plan on returning to in-person like we had our hybrid. This year it's a little different. They're calling it an independent study option. Some of the main components of that independent study option are that it's a minimum of 45 minutes of live virtual instruction a day for TK through 3rd graders. And it's only a 45 minute minimum for 4th through 8th graders required by California law. Each participating student is required to have some sort of adult supervision to complete and turn in approximately 4 to 5 hours of independent schoolwork each day. So this is a much more autonomous program. It won't be with teachers on the screen for 3-4 hours a day with a group of students. Students are going to be required to maintain adequate daily participation and attendance, as well as demonstrate their progress in order to remain eligible for this program. They also need to be able to come into a district site in order to do assessments, state testing, receive any special ed services or things of that nature, as well as to pick up assignments or devices as needed. So that's a big component of it. All instructional materials, including required electronic devices or wireless internet, is going to be provided by the district if needed, much like we did last year. And students in this program will receive a preferred return policy to their school based on the availability of room in their class. So if they should say, hey, I want to return back to the in-person, we will make every effort to prioritize them to get them back into their school site. I don't believe last year we had any issues when students chose to change from the virtual program back to the in-person program to get them back into their grades at their school site. So I'm comfortable that we'll be able to continue with that practice. We will be having a family meeting tomorrow evening, Mr. Vidalis, myself, and Ms. Scott, to meet with families that have already expressed some interest in this program. Fortunately, knock on wood, it was a fairly small number, and not the 1,300 folks like we had last year. So more to come on that, but I did want to put that out there since it is relevant. Just as an overview, on the left are some of the guidance we had from last year, the 2021 guidance. On the right, the 2021-2022 guidance, and if there's change. So last year, we had universal face coverings for staff and students indoors and outdoors. That's the same for indoors, but right now we're being given guidance that outside it's optional, with a recommendation that you maintain at least 3 feet of physical distancing. But that's something, that's a change. Last year it was a mandated 6 feet of distance at all times. This year it's striving to maintain at least 3 feet of physical distancing whenever possible. Last year, the instruction options were basically a half day of hybrid instruction, 2 days a week, or the virtual classroom model. This year, it is full in-person instruction, 5 days a week. Last year, we had 50% of our class in class. This year, all students can come to class every day. We had the grab and go lunch before. Now we have breakfast and lunch on campus daily. We didn't have an after-school program last year. That was very impactful. This year, we will have after-school program from 3 to 6. And thanks to Ms. Amiga and all those folks working with her, making this possible. Some things are similar. The limiting all gatherings, like I mentioned, right now they're really focusing on limiting indoor gatherings. There's more to come on that. The focus on frequent hand washing and other hygiene is the same. The enhanced ventilation and filtration is the same. We don't have a virtual classroom option. I mentioned briefly a little of the home study, independent study option that will have more information to come. We didn't have a vaccine until early 2021. Now we have vaccine for anyone over 12 years old. And we have very strong vaccination rates in our community. And finally, excuse me, I've got to move this, is that last year we did have staff COVID testing every 2 weeks. This year, that is not what we'll be doing. If we find ourselves in a situation where maybe there was a close contact, staff members would be asked to contact their health providers to deal with the COVID testing process. So there's some similarities, there's some changes, but all in all, I feel very, very comfortable and confident that we're going to be returning to school in a safe way and continue having good, I won't say good luck, but having safe, I said safe so many times today, pardon me for losing my concentration there. It'll be a safe opening, and I'm really looking forward to things opening up. Now, mind you, we'll keep our eyes on the health trends, and we'll come back to you anytime we have some new guidance to get your input. With that, that's my presentation. Can I answer any questions or anything I didn't cover, perhaps, Mr. Vidalis or any of the board members? Yes, I'm sorry, Mr. Coop.
Yes.
Mr.
I'm
Valenti,
I'm
thank
sorry, I
you.
don't mean to call on people.
I'm sorry.
Mario.
Ms.
Always
Valenti,
a teacher.
Mr. Valenti, thank you for the presentation. Really informative. Sort of showing the differences a year makes. I would be wrong to not ask the big question, similar to what impacted Ms. Alegia Anaway recently. I know there's a big Delta variant going around the country, cases spiking nationally, especially in California as well too. I was wondering how this plan sort of takes that into account. Does a plan that we approve today, how does that go about it if things need to be changed or amended or adapted to sort of just kind of the health conditions change on a daily basis?
Sure.
Well, let me just answer that. Like that, we've gotten very clear communication from San Mateo County Health that they are monitoring that. That's in their sphere. They have no qualms about closing a school or a district or all schools if it's determined that schools have become sources of outbreaks and sources of transmission. In the last 15 months, that has not been the case. This summer, it was not the case, and Delta variant was active throughout the summer weeks. We're hopeful that these mitigation measures, based in research, it just astounds me that there's people who will design these research projects and collect the data and then write them up. And then there's other groups of people who will read all that research and digest it for us to be able to use it. So this is a dynamic plan. We still are prepared for quarantining individuals. It's no longer the blunt quarantining practices as the past. Everybody goes home for 10 days. It's just the individuals who need to go home, and the rest of them are monitored on a regular basis. We're fortunate so far, even with the Delta, that students are not gravely affected by the infection to the point of requiring hospitalization in large numbers. They're still fairly resilient, as well as vaccinated individuals, though we do know that people do get sick. Their lives are less in danger than they were a year ago.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bernie, and thank you, Clayton.
Any other questions or comments from the other trustees?
Was that Ms. Jordan? Was that your hand? Okay, I'm sorry.
Seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Valenti, for your presentation. I know we've lived in a life so far of touch and go, so I appreciate your concerns, Trustee Koo, and the questions that you had. And of course, it's a major concern. We just really never know if CDC comes down and CDPH comes down and says, hey, we're going straight back into a full lockdown, then we kind of have no, no control over that. So we appreciate all of your work and everything that you guys have been doing to stay afloat on all of the different policies and mandates that it's almost like since the beginning of this, it's been day by day anyway. So, we're gonna shuck and jive as a whole when we need to and pivot when we need to and just be ready for all of that. But I'm glad that we have our plan in place as of now, and we'll definitely revise as we need to as state policies come down and tell us what we need to do. So thank you so much for that presentation. Superintendent Valenti, is there a...
This is actionable.
Yeah, we are requesting the board to take action on this. I think it just communicates that you have knowledge of this and that we're going to be following this, and just know that likely at our next meeting, you'll have it on there again for action, the next revision. So
it's definitely a living document, and I think that's important because we want it not to just be a stale on the shelf document, because our staff and our families are looking to it and the links in it.
Completely understood and totally exactly what it needs to be. So if no other discussion or questions, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the revised district's safe opening plan for the 2021-2022 school year.
I'll second the motion.
First and a second, all those in favor say aye.
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 Great, that was unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate it. And again, I want to thank to Mr. Vidales for his leadership on this. Before it even gets off my eyes on the screen, I'm over there and Bernie's got it digested, and really he's a very helpful partner with this, and it's much appreciated because some of this is very high level stuff. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Absolutely, completely agree. It's such a cliche to say now, but it is unprecedented times that we're dealing with. So we appreciate you and your hard work and keeping up and staying on the ball with everything here. Moving on to board policies, item 13A, board policies, administrative regulations. March 2021 CSBA board policy update, second reading. The board will review and revise board policies, administrative regulations from March 2021 CSBA board policy updates as stated in the second reading. Superintendent Vidales?
yeah, so these are a part of the March updates. You received them at our last meeting for first reading, and they're up here for a second reading. I'm willing to answer any questions if you have them. Again, these are minor revisions, just to reflect latest legislative action.
I know now this is my favorite topic of every meeting. I will gladly make the motion that we approve the second reading for the Board Policy Administrative Regulations update for March 2021 CSBA.
Second motion.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Perfect. Unanimous. Next item, 13B, Board Policies Administrative Regulations BP 6157 Distance Learning and BP/AR 6158 Independent Study. The administration recommends deletion of BP 6157 Distance Learning due to expiration of emergency legislation that temporarily waived apportionment requirements to permit distance learning for the 2020-2021 school year. Administration also recommends updates to the attached BP/AR 6158 independent study reflecting new requirements of recent legislation. Superintendent.
Yeah, and by saying recent, we're not lying. This was signed on July 15th or 17th. I forget which day. So we've had a quick turnaround here. These policies just reflect the latest legislation around how to provide alternative instruction. And we're getting rid of distance learning, virtual learning, because it's no longer an option for school districts to offer. And we're revising and adopting a new independent study that reflects all of the requirements of the law and also what's appropriate for an elementary school school district to offer.
Looks like no discussion. Any motions?
I'll make a motion that we approve the updates to the attached BP Administrative Regulations for 6158, independent study reflecting the requirements of recent legislation like California.
I second that motion.
First and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Unanimous. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Superintendent Dallas. Moving on to item 14, persons wishing to address the board on unagendized or closed session items. This portion of the agenda is available for individuals to comment on or address the board on any issue that is under the board's jurisdiction and not on the agenda of an item addressed in closed session. Is there any speaker cards, Superintendent?
Oh, we do not have any speaker cards today.
Okie dokie. Then moving on to governance team member comments, reports, and board meeting reflections. Anybody want to go first? Ms. Brizuela, you got a hot mic there.
A hot mic. Do I dare touch it? No reflections. I think we've done a lot of things tonight, which is great. Good visions of what we're going to do in the future, which is wonderful. So I just want to thank all the members of the board and our administration for working together to try to keep our district the best it can be. That's all.
Thank you. Trustee Koo?
Sure. I feel like this meeting was one of those where we learn from the past and sort of make decisions that help us for the future. I feel like tonight was learning from our goals, our advocacy on certain topics, and sort of kind of leading from the past and just sort of using that for the future. So I felt that applied really well for us tonight. Other than that, happy summer. Wishing everybody a great rest of summer, hoping to see you all in the fall. And then I also want to wish my dad a very happy birthday next week.
Awesome. Happy birthday, Papa Koo. Trustee Andrea Jordan, would you like to go next?
Sure. Thank you all for making my first meeting back a good one. There was a lot of information today that I learned. I was really happy to see a couple things on the agenda tonight. And so I'm really grateful for everyone on the board and all the insight and the questions to help move things forward. And obviously the administration, our superintendent, for all of the hard work that you're doing over the summer to make sure that when we get back in the fall, we are well prepared. And enjoy the rest of, I think we have a little less than 30 days before we're back in school. So enjoy the summer, stay safe. If you're not vaccinated, get vaccinated, because we are hoping never to go back down into a shutdown. We want to keep moving forward into positivity and light. So have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you, Trustee Jordan, and welcome back. I see that you brought a little sunshine back with you too. Trustee Lena Hawaii, do you have any words?
Everything that's been said. Just be safe out there. And I do hope everyone gets to enjoy the rest of their summer safely and just appreciate the moments that we're given. I will say that I've loved this summer and having different staff meetings and hearing people share where they've been able to travel despite, the pandemic, and they shared pictures of them doing it safely. And I thought that was pretty awesome. So we can continue to enjoy the time that we have left for the summer, and we can continue to do it safely so that we're not impacting others and especially the rest of our community. So tonight is definitely memorable. I think we've all shared that in our comments and in our sentiments. This is one for the books for me. I really appreciated a lot of the items that were on the agenda tonight. And I'm just very grateful for all of the hard work and all of the heavy lifting that everyone does each and every day to ensure that our district continues to be an example that many, many others can learn from. So I'm honored to serve with you all and also to be a partner to the administration that continues to lead us well. So thank you all.
Thank you, Trustee Leina Hawaii, and it's great to see you here. So I'm grateful that your health is better and that you're able to join us this evening and share the same exact sentiment as my fellow trustees that, it's been a harrowing time for a lot of us the last year and a half plus. So we're going to continue to keep our diligence up, continue to be safe. I hope that you guys, if you're having any travel arrangements or anything that you do, continue to be safe. Think about our community, think about our families that you are coming home to as well. So it's been great. Thank you all. We will convene to close session. I do want to actually close our meeting this evening in adjournment. Excuse me 1 second, with a moment of silence for Basiliki Betty Donovan, retired instructional aide at JFK Elementary School, and also Nathaniel Ito Tenae, who is an alumni of JESD and JUHSD this evening. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us this evening. And our meeting is adjourned at 9:20 p.m. Thank you.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Bernie, what are we doing? Are we keeping the same?
Yeah, no, we're gonna move to a new Zoom link. I'm going to put it in the chat. I did send one out. I had it planned to send out at 7 o'clock. So hopefully you got an email. It's at the top of your list, top of